probably get anywhere around $70, $80, $90 a fat lamb price up at the higher end of the market. $90. I think if you look at the paper the other day, prime lambs were going for somewhere around $91, $92. So if you get 3 lambs to one mother and you get them up to export trade weight, you may get 390s or 380s. So that's your income off one sheep, isn't it? 3 8s of 24, $240 off the meat production in 1 year off the lambs. Not too much out of the wool price. The people who live in Geraldine and Fairlie, the shearers, they can charge $1.20 a sheep to shear these sheep. So some of them shear 200. We'll know all about that today because they're starting shearing today, and they've got 5,000 merino ewes to shear from today on. The 20, the shearer gets $360 wages for the day if he shears 300 sheep, which is not bad wages because a lot of people are struggling in lower income areas in New Zealand to take that home in the course of 1 week's wages. Then you get a shearer, you get it in 1 day. But the thing is, of course, he's not shearing every day of the year because when the wet weather's around, the wool's wet, they can't shear the wool off sheep. They can only shear them when the sheep are dry. And of course, not many farmers do shearing in winter months because it's cold in June, July and August, so they don't tend to want to shear wool off. They keep the wool on while it's colder months of the year. So that's where it all happens there. Over the mountains yesterday, which dropped the which is a district and a town developing up on the North Island, well south of Auckland. And so on area days, some of the mail got misdirected between the Hamilton down this area and the Hamilton and doctor's residence, a police station, banking, postal services, a couple of garages, hotels and things like that. Transport systems are based here from the trucking firm's point of view for work and all that. Yeah. And this is the end of Highway 79 here. We're turning right into Highway 8 to go west. So you're 1,000 feet above sea level here, 330 metres. We've gained a wee bit from Christchurch, which was at sea level this morning. So 330 metres above. We're inland by 60 kilometres, so if you went back behind us to the east, 35 miles away would be the coastline city of Timaru. So we go inland to the west on State Highway 8, which is referred to as the Inland Highway. In the early days, they used to have a railway line. It used to come from Timaru all the way up to here. And the old steam train which operated on it was known as the Fairlie Flyer. And it done great service for many years, hauling the precious freight and cargo up to Fairlie to the railhead. And they used to put stock on it, the sheep and cattle into the railway wagons, and point the old steam train 3 towns back behind us to the east. The Fairlie Flyer, as the locals call it, the old steam trains. We head towards the Two Thumb Range of mountains away up ahead of us. One of the prominent points up there is Mount Dobson ahead of us, which is a ski field in the winter. Not a big field, but I think the one chairlift up there on the Mount Dobson field, and the ridge and the wee bit of that cloud. It's not a big field, but Mount Dobson many of them in the 1950s onwards for New Zealanders and built boats. He sold the jet units to overseas nations who ordered them. And they're probably found in most countries of the world, somewhere along the line, Hamilton jet units. So he was knighted for his efforts in the engineering field, Sir William Hamilton. He had a lot to do with hydraulic systems. He built many hydraulic equipment for companies across New Zealand, and he sold them all from Christchurch. He had the time of his death in 1978. So that's why he's laid to rest in the little churchyard, the closest of the churchyards to his property. The bush in amongst it to the right, coming through the gullies and valleys, is called Matagouri, prickly thorny alpine scrub, which is very slow growing over many, many long years. Why is it dry? Well, it's a rain shadow area over the middle parts of our island. To the west, coast in the west, that's blocking the views of the high southern Alps, which would be 8,000, 10,000, 12,000 feet peaks ahead of us, all covered with snow. And that's the disappointment, where the cloud is blocking those views, which we really the south part of the world known as Gondwana land. So I won't go into all the ifs and buts of how we've arrived at being a country called New Zealand, because underneath the sea there's many Pacific plates, the continental plate and the Australian plates. They all shift and move and have separated the land masses as the years have gone by. And we've come out of the sea as a country called New Zealand and caused earthquakes in New Zealand. We still have those plates underneath the sea, you know, and that's what caused an earthquake just 2 or 3 weeks ago here on our island. 7.2 on the Richter scale in the south part of the South Island. So we'll stop at the dog monument. This little monument to the dog was put here 19th, so it's a favourite spot for people to come and be married. As you look inside the church and out through the altar window, it offers a rather pretty view of the lake and the mountains surrounding it, particularly on lovely, clear, sunny days when all the mountains are viewed. I don't have to be a member. I can go up there, just pay my $10, and they let me play all afternoon for $18. So we're very lucky in New Zealand that it's not an expensive sport. You know, it is accessible, and we have literally hundreds and hundreds of golf courses. It's not far off, is it? On the right is Irishman Creek, and I talked about the man who developed the jet system for boating years ago, Mr. Bill Hamilton, and this is the colour of it. The turquoise colour of these lakes is brought about by rock flour glacier silver. New Zealand are both in Mount Cook National Park, the longest of them. The Tasman Glacier of Mount Cook is 27 kilometres long. Both of them are found way up on those mountains, way up on the back blocks of the head of the lake, and we can't see the mountain peaks of Cook or Tasman because the clouds are so very low over the main divide, you know, not showing themselves much at all. We're just seeing a bit of low snow on the lower hills around there. It would dominate a beautiful view from here on a clear day, Mount Cook, 12,313 feet high. So you'll have to take my word for it, won't you? That it's up there still. Mount Cook, the high peak of our country. Expect snow low down through here at any time during the months of June, July and August through these flats, and we have storms and snaps come through with the cold air and brings the snow down, but otherwise it recedes just up into the high mention, and it's one of the biggest glaciers outside the polar regions of the world, and we would classify ourselves as a temperate climate country of the world. We're well away from the Arctic Circle, aren't we? So, it's quite all that money he's got. But be quick, he's 87 years young and he's never married. So he's got no sons or daughters to look after him, and he's still farming over there at 87 years of age. Mr. Donald Mount Cook Burnett, amazing character. No nephews or nieces to take over and his English is very, very good. And when he talks to me, he tells me if it wasn't for the Hillary's education centres where he went as a young child, he would not be possible to speak English or be in a country like New Zealand today. He has climbed Mount Everest, he's told me, found the lower mountain walks, so there's no dangers and all that. Others come up here to ski the Tasman Glacier. If you get clear winter days in July, August, guides must ski down the glacier with you folks. They had snow here this morning. You'd see a bit of snow on the ground. This fell this morning, okay? So it wasn't here yesterday on those flats. Many coach tours or visitors come up here in the winter months. But from now on, the coach tour market starts to extend into a busier time. So the Glencoe Lodge will open up here in the summer months for coach tours. Individual travellers, camper vans, cars, cycling groups come around New Zealand in the summer months. So it's quite busy resorts for visitors.